Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Fuck J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
What's going on, everybody? This is Critical Failure. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio, episode 225. Today is March 9th, 2018, and this past week I had a birthday. I'm 34 now, so take that for what you will. One step closer to the grave. I've got one foot in a coffin and the other foot in my Sega Genesis collection, because I keep stepping on things in my office. Coming up this week, we're going to shift gears from our usual approach. I don't have any van casting for you because I was too busy this week to talk on the phone while I drove. I spent the whole week while I was commuting just going, what the heck, man? Oh my gosh. So rather than doing van casting, I took some pretty good notes, and I got some fun stuff to go over. On that note, let's go back to some of the mixtapes I've downloaded recently. We don't quite have Winter Chip 8 from Battle of the Bits, but I do have some more awesome stuff to play. So let's take a look, and we'll see what we got. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. That is YZYX from the Chiptunes Equals Win Volume 6. That's a pretty funky tune. That's got some solid funk to it. And the name of the track is, bear with me here, Dreams. Track number 14, that is Dreams. tilde-1.mid. with these chiptune artists. Sometimes I can't tell if I'm reading an extension from some sort of file conversion or if that's actually what they've named the song. Top quality track, though. There is a time change coming up. Let's see. Sunday, right, is when daylight savings time ends. So the way I remember this, most people say spring ahead, fall back, but that doesn't tell me where the sleep goes. When the weather is getting nice, that means you have the crappy one. That's where you lose an hour of sleep. When the weather is getting bad for winter, that's when you have the good one and you get an hour of sleep. Well, spring is coming. Oh, that's good. So we lose an hour of sleep in exchange for an hour of daylight. Kids will get to play outside a little bit longer. It'll be a good time if we can just get through that hour. That's another thing that's changed in the last 10 years is now that everyone's got a cell phone, a smartphone and whatnot, I don't see too many people who are late to things after daylight savings time. It used to be when I was in plumbing and I would work in construction sites and whatnot, daylight savings would come and go, and inevitably somebody was always late or early, or somebody forgot something and didn't set their clock. It was always a mess. All right. So let's take let's see what my notes are for this past week. I guess we'll drop down to see what I've been playing first. That makes the most sense. Oh no, what about news? Yeah, here's one for you. Chrono Trigger, right? We talked a little bit about Chrono Trigger and their disappointing release to Steam. Some people were talking about how, hey, you waited too long for this to be relevant. We were all playing this in high school on our emulators. Go get it on SNES 9X, play it for free. Why are you charging us $15 for this now? Most people were talking about the quality of the port, it being an iOS port that was dropped onto Steam, showing primarily, and this is just based on reading people's reactions to it. I haven't played it myself, but the screen looked very zoomed in, more so even than the Super Nintendo, right? Because it was adapted for a phone, small screen, and then put back onto a computer, a big screen. So that would create a situation where you'd have a game that costs more than the ROM and played worse than the ROM. So I could see how that would be upsetting. The reason why it's news again is because the port team responded to the bad press, and this is what they had to say. March 1st, it was posted, "Hi everyone, thank you for the feedback you've shared so far regarding Chrono Trigger. We wanted to let you know that we're reading and listening to your messages, and we're aware of all the issues that you've raised, which we are currently assessing. Please keep an eye on the Steam page for further information. Thanks for your patience and support, the Chrono Trigger team." I don't know why it triggers me a little bit that they call themselves the Chrono Trigger team. They're in charge of the port. They didn't make Chrono Trigger. So what I'm going to do now, that's a bit of a nitpick though. That's just kind of an old man gripe. I'm going to go back to that. Chrono Trigger is date locked. You have to be over 18 to look at Chrono Trigger. Why? That's weird. All reviews now mostly negative. Now my curators. A no-effort iOS port with crap filters and crap UI sold for $15 when we were all emulating it back for free back in high school. Buying this means you condone it. What else have we got? An absolute disgraceful port done by the infamous crap-eating anti-consumers Square Enix. I highly suggest letting your childhood go unruined by not dipping into this bugged cesspit of a port. Supposedly you can fix some of that with mods, although if you're planning on purchasing a game, hey, you can fix the issues that the dev left unfixed yourself. That to me is not a selling point. I'm looking at the Steam page they told me to take a look at. I'm seeing nothing else. The most recent update is still what I just read, and that's got 400 comments on it. Let's take a look. Unfortunately, those comments have no aggregate system, so all I can do is just look at what's posted recently. If you're ever going to port Secret of Evermore to the new consoles and PC, do it right and bring it updated and maybe with animated cutscenes. Produce some amazing stuff. Be incredible and productive and use your potential, because we are giving so much life and time away to earn the money to buy your games to have a good time, even though we could have them for free. Same with Secret of Mana. Such a generic 3D that lacks totally the art style of the sprites version of the game. I would rather have an SNES remake of Secret of Mana with the value of a well-produced animated cutscene we've never seen. Don't be so incredibly greedy and lazy. If you want our money, give us something of value in return. That's 2 hours ago that was posted. That's the most recent comment on this post, and I 100% agree. I completely agree. Stop taking a dump on the digital distro sites and calling it a port. You know, in my circles, we all make fun of Night Dive Studios for that, right? Night Dive Studios is the company that gets the rights to really old computer games and then just drops them on Steam with little to no effort, and sometimes they don't even work. Yeah. Okay, there was also this game that was in the news a lot over the last couple weeks. Hunt Down the Freeman. Bad game with crybaby devs. Hunt Down the Freeman. Look, we know we're not going to get Half-Life 3. It's a meme at this point. Why would Valve waste time producing a game when they're making much more money distributing other people's games? So a game comes along set in the Half-Life universe, and people didn't like it. Big bad crybaby devs. Most notably, I think it's funny that I Hate Everything, the YouTuber I Hate Everything, appeared in this game as a voice actor, which struck me as funny. This is one of the games that would not have come across my lexicon at all if I didn't get tired of hearing about people upset about it. There's not going to be another Half-Life. This is as close as we're going to get. I'm so sorry then. I'm so sorry. In terms of why it's bad, this is the part I'm kind of struggling to understand, because I look at the game and I see bad voice acting and I see bad scripting. Okay, that's fine, but it's a first-person shooter. Granted, it's a story-driven first-person shooter, but I don't see that alone being what merits all the rage. One thing people are upset about is stolen assets, I guess. I don't know. I have to... This is one I'd really have to play fully to understand why people are upset. And it's not a free mod. This what does it cost? It's got to be like $20 or something like that. So just know that this game exists, and it's one of the things that people have been talking about lately. I can't really tell you if it's good or bad, because it is essentially another bad game on Steam, right? Steam has a ton of bad games on it now. It used to be, back in the day, it was like, to get a spot on Steam was like something that I respected and that I thought would be really awesome. But now, I mean, with all the shovelware and whatnot. All right, so let's take a look at the Steam page and see if I can understand what's happening. So this is mostly negative. Hunt Down the Freeman is $25 freaking dollars. So that might be a clue right there. You have a game that's that. Let's see. That is, it's not the highest price point in the world, right? Because I wanted Friday the 13th. That's a $40 game, right? But when you have a solid price like that, you better bring the business. So a game with bad voice acting and terrible graphics and stolen assets and all this stuff, you maybe dip the price down a little bit. I don't know. I think another reason that would cause the ire is it's kind of a neat idea on paper, right? I liked Opposing Forces. I thought it was a fun add-on to Half-Life. I played all the way through Opposing Forces. So the idea of trying to hunt and kill Gordon Freeman, I don't know, it appealed to me. As much as I think the main character that I'm looking at in the screenshots with the little scratches on his face, I think that guy looks retarded. I know retarded is something we're not supposed to say anymore, but the models in this game are straight up special education. I'm sorry. Alright, let's stop talking about that game and see what else is going on. The racing game Dirt 3 has been discontinued on Steam. If you have the racing game Dirt 3 in your Steam library, and you should because it was given away for free at some point, hold on to it. I guess, how would you hold on to a Steam game? Don't write Steam support and ask them to remove it from your library. As long as you don't do that, you now have an extinct game. I I haven't seen any evidence of it, having problems or anything like that. It's just one of those things where Dirt 4 is out. They don't want the old one to compete with the new one. They remove it from Steam. If you like the out-of-the-park baseball games, they do the same thing. Personally, I really don't like that practice. It feels very anti-consumer to me. If you want to sell me the same game over and over again, you should make the newer one good enough to merit me paying more for it over the old one, right? If Dirt 3 is out for $30 and you're going to sell Dirt 4 for $40, you need to make Dirt 4 $10 better. Now, I just pulled those prices out of a hat. I don't know what they actually are. Just some food for thought. Just wanted to let you guys know that game is gone. In other news on Steam, they rolled out an update to the wishlist system a couple weeks back, and there were some people complaining about games being removed from their wish lists. So take a look at your wish lists and just nose around a little bit. The only game I noticed being removed, and I was really upset about this, Chessmaster, the Grandmaster Edition, had been on my wish list since 2010. And it said listed in 2010. Now, that game was removed from Steam many, many years ago. It was removed like less than a year after I started on Steam. So the buy button was not there, but it stayed in my Steam my wish list. And it was one of those things where I could remove it from the wish list, but I could never get it back again. It was a $20 chess game, and I never got around to buying it. So I just liked having it listed there. Now it's finally gone. Along with that F1 2010, which they recently removed from Steam. I dropped off my wish list as well. That's one of the things I maintain a wish list for, is I just go through it and check, and if the prices are missing, then that means they removed the game from the library. Now I won't be able to use it for that, I guess. What are you going to do? Alright, here's one for you. I love repros. I love them. This is a good topic of debate on the ethics behind reproducing expensive games. I personally think there's nothing wrong with it, but the people who think it's a bad idea sometimes, in some cases, present a good argument. But it's like, if you've got a cartridge that's $80, there's no reason it should be $80. Just make more of them. That's my opinion. I understand if you disagree. But I enjoy ROM hacking, and repros produce a brand new product, right? There's no need. This is one of the reasons why I think the idea of making a brand new console that's like a retro-oriented console, for example, the Coleco Chameleon, never mind the fact that was a con. If it was real, the whole thing doesn't seem to make much sense, because why do you need to make a new Nintendo if we can still produce new Nintendo games? And that's why one of the things I think is awesome about repros. So here's where I'm getting with this. I've been watching videos recently quite a lot about how these things are made. And I kind of want to get into making them myself. I did a little ROM hacking like 20 years ago. I wasn't good at it, but I did enough to understand what a ROM is inside and out. I know what character tables are and stuff like that. And more or less, the more videos I see on how it's done, you buy an EEPROM programming kit, which is just like a big white box with a couple rows of holes, and then you put these programmable RAM chips in them. And so you buy the kit to program the chips, and then you buy a soldering iron, and then you buy parts to make games, and then there you go. You got to make sure you're putting the right ROM on the right chips on the right board, but that's all there is to it. There was one site that was selling these specially crafted NES boards for $2 a piece for the board and the case. Right, so everything you need to make a Nintendo game minus the chips and the solder, and that was $2 for that. The trick is then there's a $20 minimum, so you end up buying 10. That's a beautiful price, especially since the repros cost like $30 to $50 in some cases. I paid $15 a piece for the repros that I have, and I feel like I got a good deal. So I've been really considering it. I know how my luck is. Like, I know that it's going to be a fool's errand to try and get into it to make money. But it's just like when I built my computer. I could do this one part at a time, and I could make it work. Start with getting a soldering iron kit, something I've wanted in several instances in the past anyway. I can order one for like $10. Once I get a soldering iron, I could start looking into the device that programs the chips. That's where the money is. That thing is like $100. It can be anywhere from 40 to 100, depending on the particular device you use. But I'm going to say it's 100 because I want to be able to come in under budget. Plan for 100, end up spending 70, I don't know, something like that. Many different models. We'll see. Right now I'm saying it's 100 because it's a rough estimate. 100 for the programmer device. Then there's a label cutter, which is also $100. So that's $200 just for hardware to make it. The reusable hardware. Although I could make the games without a label maker and then go back and label them later. I don't know. It just seems like a fun thing. I had shied away from it in times past because it became apparent to me that if I got that deep into it and making my own cartridges and I learned how to do it and I made a few cartridges, the magic would be gone. You know? Because sometimes that happens in life. It would no longer be like, I would look at a game like Super Mario Bros. 3, which was a game that held so much magic, and to know a bit more about how the sausage is made, I don't know. It's like there wasn't anything special about it anymore. But I know the way things go in life is if. That's going to happen anyway. And I like the opportunity of being able to mess with hardware a little bit, getting some relatively low cost experience in soldering. I mean, however much a soldering iron and the reader and the label cutter, all that stuff costs, $2 for a board and a case, and then you got to buy. I think it's like 3 chips. There's a RAM chip, and then there's the EEPROM chip. There's usually 2 black chips that go together, and then there's 1 small compatibility chip also. So I think it's 3, depending on what kind of board you have. And then that's it, man. And then you're in a Nintendo game. You got one. I think that would be cool, man. I don't know, just food for thought. All right, boys and girls, let's go back to the... oh my gosh, you know what? You know what else happened today? This isn't in my notes, but just before I left work, I was looking around my email, and I saw that H1Z1 went free to play, and I was really upset. Isn't that like the kiss of death when that happens? When you buy a game and you purchase it with money, and you don't get it for free, and you buy it, and then it goes free? Every time I see that happen, it always ends up being bad, right? The only time I can think of a game that actually survived a move like that was TF2. Was free. Was made free and is still played. The only instance. Forge. Yay! I bought it for $5. Then it went free to play and then it died. It's upset. It makes me want to play more H1Z1 because I know it's not going to be around forever. Eventually it's going to just fold up shop and it's going to be done. But is what it is. It couldn't keep up with PUBG. Couldn't keep up with Fortnite. Holy moly. Everybody talks about Fortnite. Fortnite is it's the game, and it didn't cost anything either. All right. So that was it. So I bought a game for $10, and then it went free to play. So I guess I'm an idiot. What are you gonna do? So let's go back to my chiptune collection. We'll find something good. All right, I think I got one for you. Again, off of Chiptunes Equals Win. This is from Bubblegum Octopus, and the song is called Tree Cutter. Oh man, that bass line. Take a listen. What a track. That is a dense 2 minutes of music. Is that how long it was? What do we got now? 3 minutes and 57 seconds. And I guess why it feels so dense. I dig it. Actually, that's going to be one for the books. All right, boys and girls. This is the part of the show where I like to say thanks to the patrons over at Patreon. This is a Patreon-supported show. These guys have given up their resources to keep us coming back every week. And you'll be happy to know that this is probably the longest stretch ever of TCR without going on hiatus. I've now been back making shows for over a year. It was February 2017 was when we returned to the air, and here it is, March 2018, and we're still heading on and making it happen. So thanks. They are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, 6 Health of Fury, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys very much. I hope you feel like you're getting your money's worth. Okay, guys, I want to ask the internet and put my ear to the ground and respond to some of the comments that are just out there on the internet at large. But right now, everybody's going crazy about Smash Brothers. There was a Smash Brothers Nintendo Switch reveal trailer, and I'm sorry, I loved Smash Brothers Brawl on the Wii, but I opted out of buying a Switch, so I can't get hype for it. Just know that if you're a Nintendo person, Smash Brothers is a thing, and we're going to use that to sum up all of the Switch / Smash Brothers related comments out there. That said, let's move on. Here's one for you. The Anon writes in, the original Metal Gear Solid, 20 years later and it's still the best stealth game. How did Kojima do it? You think the original Metal Gear Solid is the best stealth game? I know it's my favorite personally, but there's a lot of games in the Metal Gear series now. I like the first one the most because it struck a balance between games. It struck a balance between complex stealth mechanics and not making it too complex. It also came out in an era when I was super impressionable. So when I took it in, it just was, that was the pinnacle for me. There was never anything that broke as much ground at once as that first Metal Gear game. First Metal Gear Solid game, I should say. Here's one for you. Ikaruga, and I dare say it's the greatest retro shmup of all time. You really think so? You really think Ikaruga is the best? Ikaruga is a good game, but it's also really hard and not in a fun way. Dodonpachi, man. Dodonpachi is as a series is better than... Look, why is there any Ikaruga 2? I don't know. Maybe it's better that way. But I like that game a lot, but I've got to say, I hold Dodonpachi in a higher esteem than Ikaruga. I hold the old, retro shmups. What about the old Raiden games, right? Raiden Legacy. What was the last game in Raiden Legacy? The one where there's like 15 different ships to choose from. I don't know, man. Saying Ikaruga is the best of all time seems like quite a leap, but that's just my opinion. By the way, if you want to see something really creepy, I'm looking at the ending screen for the Game Boy version of Kid Icarus. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm looking at. The End, presented by Nintendo, and you see Pit flying along with his wings, and there's a big sun with a smiling face. It's pretty creepy, man. It's kind of... that kind of creeps me out. If you have access to your computer, Google the ending screen to Kid Icarus on the Game Boy, because that is freaky. Right up there with one of the Sonic the Hedgehog games on the Game Gear, where when you beat it, you see Tails has died, and Sonic mourns the death of his friend by looking up into the stars and seeing Tails' face smiling down on him. That's got to be the creepiest video game ending of all time. That's the creepiest one I can think of off the top of my head. Here's another one for you. Anon writes in, hey, here's that image of the little girl trying to scroll the Game Boy Color screen with her finger by swiping left and swiping right. How does that make you feel? You know what? I know this is supposed to make me feel old, but I think I'm just fine with it. I think the parents of this young girl have been charged with the task of showing her the original Pokemon and Castlevania Adventure and Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins. And they're working on it, so give them time. She'll be just fine, trust me. Alright, here's one. Which one is better, Fallout New Vegas or XCOM 2? The newer XCOM 2 game. I haven't played either, but I gotta tell you, both of those games have much more appealing older versions. All right, here's one. What are some forgotten point-and-click games that are worth checking out? One I recently discovered is Beavis and Butthead's Virtual Stupidity. Oh man, what a great question. Forgotten point-and-click games. All right, so let's assume that we've gone beyond the Quest games. So no King's Quest, no Police Quest, no Space Quest, no Leisure Suit Larry. Let's also set aside the Blackwell games, which are point-and-click essentials. Absolutely essential, the Blackwell games. Then we come to what is it? It's the Lucasfilm collection, the one that's got Loom in it. Loom and Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis and two others. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and The Dig. Those are 4 games worth checking out if you're big into point-and-click games. Speaking of point-and-click, one of my favorite NES games, Maniac Mansion, was ported to Steam not that long ago. I don't know if any of those are considered forgotten point-and-click games, though. That's just like a who's who of good point-and-click games. That remake that they made of Shadowgate was pretty good. That's a pretty good point-and-click game that will soon be forgotten because it's a remake. That's really it. That's all I can dig up. There's remarkably little being talked about that I can read on the air right now. Everybody's talking about Super Smash Brothers, and then also people are upset about Crash Bandicoot, right? Crash Bandicoot trilogy remake being ported to the Nintendo Switch, so it's no longer a Sony exclusive. Stop playing the exclusives game. This is a game that the businesses who own the consoles use to pit us against each other. That's why I like PCs. There's no reason. Something feels wrong about when people the way the companies trade exclusives. It just feels wrong. It's not like it used to be. Every one of these systems can play every one of the games. It's not a race of technology anymore like it was when it was Sega against Super Nintendo. Oh boy. I had more stuff I wanted to go over, but oh well. Oh yeah, the 2K sale. Cruising around on the Steam, right? So this weekend there's a 2K sale on Steam, which is nothing, too out of the ordinary. Usual suspects are there. The Civilization games, most notably Civilization 6, has dropped down to $23.99. That's, the best price I've seen that at thus far. We got XCOM 2 is for sale. We got Civilization 5 is for sale really cheap. What else we got? Mafia games. The original Mafia has returned to Steam, so that's on sale for $10.04. Although I gotta say, I got that on sale for 99 cents. But that was in another era, in another time. The reason why I wanted to bring this sale up was because I see new games added that weren't on Steam prior. The Army Men series has made its debut. We've got Army Men 2, Army Men Toys in Space, and Army Men RTS. These all look like top-down shooters. Either top-down shooters or, the RTS games. No 3D over-the-shoulder third-person shooting like was on the PS1. Still cool-looking games, though. That's one thing. So Army Men exists on Steam. It's been around for a while on GOG.com, but now we're just seeing it on Steam for the first time. Next thing is Hidden and Dangerous. Now, I've made my love of Hidden and Dangerous known for a long time. Here's something for you. The very first TCR recording ever, which is currently known as Episode 0, it's listed in the archive. I didn't release it because I thought it was really bad. Until later, when I put the archive together, I included it. The very first episode I did, the game of the week, which was something I was going to try and keep going. The first game of the week was Hidden and Dangerous. At that time, it was a freeware game, which I guess they changed their minds on that now because you can buy it. I bought it on GOG.com. I put about 4 hours into it. Oh, I love it. It's so good. It is so good. It's one of the few games that, I made a couple videos about me playing it, and then, making the videos died because I just wanted to keep playing the game. I didn't want to deal with video production, so it's just forget this. I just want to play the game. It's so good. Get Hidden and Dangerous and Hidden and Dangerous 2. They're also on sale right now on Steam. I never played Hidden and Dangerous 2, but it looks good. 2003 is when it came out. You can spot these old games by the aspect ratio in the screenshots. They've got the 4:3 aspect ratio we used to have on those like 800 by 600 monitors. You guys remember those old things? If you go back far enough, then before flat screens were in every home, and you had those great big CRT monitors. Oh man, that's how I played Hidden and Dangerous. Buggy and early 3D, but man, they did atmosphere very, very well considering what they had. But alright, so here's me talking about a game again. I've talked about many times on TCR again. But now it's available for a new platform, so that's that. Let's move on. Let's go back to my notes and see what else we got. Anything else? I have here written as follows: out of print archive, ? So there was another old feature I used to do on TCR where I'd head over to this website, the Out of Print Archive, where they have video game magazines, old ones, scanned and available for download legally. And I used to get magazines from there, and I would read them on the air and just kind of flip through them. Want to get the magazines before the show starts, so that's not going to be on this particular episode, but that might be something that I would do in future episodes. So heads up for possible Out of Print Archive episodes. What else we got? We talked about vinyl. Been checking out on vinyl on Reddit to look at other vinyl acquisitions. I think it's the only thing on Reddit I've ever been like, let's open up Reddit to check this out. There's a board on Reddit where people just post pictures of their vinyl records, and I've been doing that lately. You know how like forever and a day it's been a big fad for people to take pictures of their food and post them online? I do that with records. I actually look at I like to see people's record player setups. That's something I've been into. I don't know why I decided to include that in my notes, but there it is. Talked about the Steam wishlist update. We talked about potentially moving towards building my own Steam repros. One bullet point that I skipped is I haven't been over to TigSource in a while. Something I used to do on TCR a lot. I would head over to TigSource and see about what kind of freeware / indie dev competitions were going on. Like I used to track the Ludum Dare. You guys remember that? That was a long time ago. I played some cool games doing that too, like Cat Poke. But I played some truly hardcore, terrible games as well. So that might be worth doing in the future. Oh yeah. All right. So let's do this now. Before we head over to the fail bag, because we're 41 minutes in. Before we head over to the fail bag, we're going to break from recording, and I'm going to go try a game that Dumay's recommended in the last fail bag edition. So I'm going to go play this game. We're going to take a quick break, and I'll report back. See you in a minute. We are back again. That's Dodging Asteroids in Hyperspeed by Weird Bananas. Great artist. And I played a little Roger Ramrod. I played about 2 minutes of it, and that was all I needed. We're talking about an unabashed adult-themed MS-DOS game. And I don't want to go into too much of the gory details, but let me just say, this is a game that reminded me just how deep the rabbit hole goes when it comes to MS-DOS, and just how weird the games got, with no restrictions whatsoever. And when I say no restrictions, it gets weird. And this is a game that takes you to a weird place, for sure. So, thanks, Dumaze, for pointing that one out. I certainly appreciate the experience. I definitely am looking at life completely different. So we're going to start out the fail bag this week by heading over to Gmail. I want to read a letter from my good friend Hamrock, who writes in as follows. Hey, CF, I'm really digging the chiptunes. These past 2 shows have had some good ones. About 2 episodes ago, you read a comment from GameFAQs where someone was complaining about the original XCOM's difficulty. They specifically mentioned how 2 of their soldiers died in the first turn. It reminds me of one of my favorite Let's Players, Necroscope86, when he said when he ran into a similar situation, "That's XCOM, baby." You asked about Podomatic. I have not routinely used that site in years. Maybe that's one website worth letting go. I'm not sure if it's worth the trouble. You also asked your audience about longer shows. I'd say go for it. I love a longer show. Maybe you think about adding some more recurring segments, similar to how you've kept up with the Vancast. Maybe you could bring back the on-the-desk bit. Poor Chrono Trigger. Out of the 378 current reviews, they're still mostly negative. I've read that modders have been able to change the visuals to make the Steam port tolerable, although I think I'll stick with the SNES version. Have you played the PS1 version? I heard the load times are killer. Standing ovation on Brian, who wrote in saying he has beaten Bayou Billy. That is quite a feat. Like UCF, I have never legitimately got past the driving stages. Have you been able to sit down with Sendu for the Monster Cast? I'd be really interested to hear what you 2 chat about. Keep rolling retro, Hemrock. Hemrock, my man, good to hear from you. Let's start with your questions. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. I haven't talked to Sendu in a while. I got to reach out to him. He's awesome. I'd love to sit down with him again, especially for the Monster Cast. But no, I haven't done that. Sendu is one of the must-haves before the Monster Cast comes out, so I should really probably write out to him pretty soon. Yeah, Bayou Billy is a tough game. I agree, tough game, but it was also a fun game. The parts that I could beat in Bayou Billy when I was a kid, I beat them over and over and over again, and I would get all the way to the car portion, and then I would die, and that was okay. I don't know, it was okay for me. The longer shows, you like the longer ones, huh? That's good. I'm glad. That means whenever I want to record a Vancast, I can without having to worry about it making things go long. As for Podomatic, I'm going to go over to YouTube next, but somebody else said they used it. I kept up with Podomatic because Podomatic goes to... They upload to iTunes. If you look up Tiger Claw Radio on iTunes, I'm there, but what you're seeing is the Podomatic dump. So... when TCR started, iTunes was the dominant force in podcasting. There were a lot of the major podcasts, like, Adam Carolla and Gilbert Gottfried and all those guys. Old early episodes of Joe Rogan, those types of people, they would only put their podcasts up on iTunes, and you couldn't just download the MP3s somewhere. And that has changed now, because now people aren't buying iPhones anymore. Not as much. I guess people are still buying iPhones. Yes, that's true. But they don't have the market share that they used to when Steve Jobs was alive. So it's not as important. But the reality is there's so few listeners at TCR. If anybody's clicking in there, anybody at all, then I'll keep doing it. Especially since I'm still producing the MP3s. It's just like an extra minute to get Podomatic up to date. It's just I have troubles with them. Sometimes the image that goes with the podcast doesn't upload, even though I upload it and it doesn't. But I got an email from Podomatic saying, "Hey, your show is 10 years old." Can you believe that? I don't know. Could that be true? I didn't think that was true. I thought it would be 2019 when it was 10 years old. I think maybe my account's 10 years old. I don't know. I don't know. I got that email, though. That was a real email I got. Let's see. Yeah, XCOM is really hard. And I'm glad you like the chiptunes as well. Look, I get it. Those of you out there, if you want to skip the chiptunes, there's no problem with that. You just do what you got to do. I'm certainly... music is one of those things where it's going to be tough for us to all find something that we all like. So, we really just have to just do what I can and try and hope it sticks. All right, over on YouTube, Desm101 writes, I enjoy longer podcasts in general just because there's usually some interesting topics to cover. Even if I don't have time to listen at once, I'll often pause and come back to when I'm free. Heard it was some intense weather out there. Yes, my friend, it was. We had some serious wind. There were damages. There were trees that had lost limbs. There were a lot of power outages. Thankfully, me and my family, those around me, we were all okay for the most part. So, yeah, we had a lot of wind, but we made it through just fine. You like the longer podcasts. All right, so that's good to know. What else we got? I'm going to head over to that's the only comment on last week's episode. Got one from old school NYC Gamer, who turned out to have a really good channel. He popped into my last vinyl video and wrote, you got to check out Fireburn's Don't Stop the Youth EP. It's a Motorhead / Bad Brains vibe to it. And I did check them out, actually, man. I checked them out, and it turned out to be like a super band, or what is a super group, I guess. The singer is the guy from Bad Brains, not HR, but the one Bad Brains album, Rise. They had a different singer. That was kind of like a poppy 90s grunge kind of music, but he's definitely singing like the late 70s original Bad Brains style with this group, Fireburn, and I really dug it. Who was the other guy? There was him, and there was another guy from Murphy's Law. Yeah, another one of the members is a former member of Murphy's Law. So I thought that was awesome. I did check out the EP. It's $15 for the vinyl, but they're sold out right now. Amazon is sold out. So unless I, figured out who the label was and bought it direct, which probably would be a good idea to look up how to do that. No access to the vinyl at the moment, but it was cool to hear from you, and I ended up checking out that channel, and it was good stuff. So you guys can check that out if you feel like it. Old school NYC Gamer. Kaiser wrote in, I need to get into Swingin' Utters. My only experience with them is This Bastard's Life, which is on Rock Band 3. Pretty good song. I would say the Swingin' Utters really have some stellar highlights. I would agree. 5 Lessons Learned is probably my favorite album from them. But they do have quite a few out there. He also writes, you need a cop outfit. Really? I need a cop outfit? I guess. If you got one, I'll wear it. Let's see. And then we have Sean. And that's in the podcast from 2 weeks ago. So that's it. That's all the comments I got. That is it. Finito. No mas. I feel like there was other stuff I wanted to go over. Last night I spent time playing Quake, and it was the most Quake I'd played in a single session in a very long time. And then this morning I woke up and I started playing Unreal Tournament, and I started installing mods for Unreal Tournament. I got a few custom voice packs, got a few additional levels, just tricking out my Unreal Tournament build. Getting some modifiers. I'm looking at the stuff I have uninstalled on the desktop. I got a mod called Badlands, which is a Western themed mod for the Unreal Tournament. This is Unreal Tournament 99. The one that's being sold is Unreal Tournament Game of the Year Edition on Steam. I've also got More Blood. I've got the Shock Rifle from Unreal Tournament 2004. And then, let's see. Deck 17 ported over. That's the weird 2004 version. Or not 2004, maybe it was Unreal 3 or Unreal Black, or I don't know. I got some cool mods. I wanted to do some Unreal Tournament videos in the near future, so we'll see how that turns out. If nothing ever comes of it, just let me say, Unreal Tournament's a good game. It's still a good game. That's all I have to say about that. So I guess that about wraps it up. Boys and girls, whatever has brought you here, 55 minutes and 15 seconds into episode 225 of Tiger Claw Radio. Thanks for spending some time and hanging out. There's a lot of things you can do on the internet to spend your time. So I'm thoroughly grateful that you've chosen to spend some of your time here with me. I'm wishing you all the best in the world. I really am. So keep up all the good work in your lives, and keep holding on for dear life. I'm rooting for you. See you next week.